Evelyn stared at the signed contract, her hand trembling slightly. It was a lucrative deal, one that would secure her company's future for years. But it came at a cost, a clause that subtly, yet undeniably, compromised the ethical standards she had always championed. Just last week, she'd passionately argued for transparency and integrity in a team meeting. Now, she was about to sign off on something that felt like a betrayal of those very principles. The faces of her junior colleagues, who looked up to her as a beacon of honesty, flashed in her mind. She felt a cold knot in her stomach, a dissonance so profound it made her question everything. Was this the price of success? Was this who she had become? The pen felt impossibly heavy in her hand, each tick of the clock echoing the silent erosion of her soul. She knew this was wrong, but the consequences of not signing, the potential layoffs, the financial instability, loomed larger, suffocating her conscience. She was about to sign away a piece of herself, and she didn't even know if there would be anything left to recognize. In the relentless pursuit of success, we often face moments where our deeply held values are put to the test. What happens when the path to survival or advancement demands small compromises, seemingly insignificant at first, but cumulatively eroding the very foundation of who we are? This isn't about grand betrayals, but the quiet, daily negotiations with our conscience that leave us feeling hollowed out, disconnected from the person we once were. It's the existential pain of realizing that the person looking back from the mirror is a stranger, shaped by 1,000 tiny concessions. Join us as we explore this profound dilemma and discover how ancient wisdom offers a compassionate framework for navigating the complexities of modern life, not to judge our choices, but to illuminate a path back to our authentic selves, where integrity is not a luxury, but the very bedrock of a meaningful existence. Marcus had always been a man of unwavering principles. Growing up in a small town, he was taught the importance of honesty, hard work, and treating others with respect. These values were his compass, guiding him through his early career in a bustling marketing agency. He prided himself on his integrity, always delivering on promises, even if it meant extra hours, and always speaking his mind, even if it was unpopular. His colleagues admired his straightforwardness, and his clients trusted his word implicitly. His ascent in the corporate world was steady. He was promoted quickly, recognized for his sharp mind and his ethical approach. He became a team leader, then a department head, and eventually, a senior executive. With each step up, the stakes grew higher, the decisions more complex, and the lines between right and wrong began to blur, subtly at first. The first compromise felt small. A client, a major revenue source, wanted to subtly mislead consumers with a marketing campaign. Marcus argued against it, citing ethical concerns. His boss, a seasoned veteran, pulled him aside. "Marcus," he'd said, "I appreciate your idealism, but sometimes you have to play the game. It's for the greater good of the company and all our employees." Marcus, reluctantly, agreed to a watered-down version of the campaign, telling himself it was a necessary evil, a one-time thing. Then came the pressure to cut corners on a project to meet an aggressive deadline. It meant using cheaper, less sustainable materials, something Marcus vehemently opposed. But the CEO himself was pushing for it, citing market pressures and shareholder expectations. Marcus, remembering the previous conversation, chose to remain silent in the meeting, a silent nod of compliance. He justified it by thinking of the jobs that would be saved, the stability of the company. Over the years, these small compromises accumulated. He found himself defending decisions he privately disagreed with, turning a blind eye to minor ethical lapses for the sake of team harmony or corporate targets. He learned to navigate the gray areas, to speak in corporate jargon that masked uncomfortable truths, to prioritize business realities over moral ideals. He became incredibly effective, a master of corporate politics, able to achieve results where others failed. He was praised, rewarded, and seen as a pragmatic leader. But the cost was internal. The vibrant, principled young man he once was began to fade. He found himself less enthusiastic about his work, less connected to his team. The passion he once had for ethical marketing was replaced by a cynical detachment. He started to feel a hollowness, a quiet unease that he couldn't quite pinpoint. He would look in the mirror and see a successful executive, but the eyes looking back seemed to hold a distant, unfamiliar sadness. He had gained the world, but he felt like he was losing himself, piece by piece, in the process. The compass that once guided him had lost its magnetic north, leaving him adrift in a sea of unspoken compromises. Marcus's story is a poignant reflection of a common modern dilemma: the gradual erosion of personal values in the face of professional pressures and the perceived need for compromise. We are often told that adaptability and pragmatism are keys to success. But what happens when these qualities lead us down a path where we no longer recognize our own moral compass? This isn't about grand acts of corruption, but the subtle, insidious process of small concessions that accumulate, leaving us feeling hollowed out and disconnected from our authentic selves. It's the existential pain of realizing that the person looking back from the mirror is a stranger, shaped by 1,000 tiny betrayals of our own integrity. Ancient wisdom, particularly Buddhist philosophy, offers a compassionate lens to examine this profound dilemma, not to judge our choices, but to illuminate a path back to our authentic selves, where integrity is not a luxury, but the very bedrock of a meaningful existence. A Buddhist perspective, Marcus's experience of losing his moral compass through small compromises is a powerful illustration of dukkha, suffering, arising from avidya, ignorance, of the true nature of self and the interconnectedness of actions and consequences, and tanha, craving/clinging, to external validation and perceived success. The core issue is the suffering that arises when our actions are out of alignment with our deepest values, leading to internal conflict and a sense of lost identity. The Four Noble Truths of Lost Values. 1. The truth of suffering. Dukkha. The suffering is evident in Marcus's internal hollowness, his quiet unease, the fading of his passion, and the feeling of being a stranger to himself. This suffering arises from the dissonance between his inherent values, integrity, transparency, kindness, and his actions driven by external pressures and fear of consequences. It's a suffering of self-betrayal and existential confusion. 2. The truth of the origin of suffering. Samadaya. The origin of this suffering lies in Marcus's clinging to the idea of external success and security, job, company stability, career advancement, at the expense of his internal integrity. This craving is fueled by avidya, the ignorance of anatta, not self, in the sense that his true self is not defined by external roles or achievements, but by his values, and anicca, impermanence, of the idea that compromising values will lead to lasting peace or success. His fear of consequences also stems from this ignorance. 3. The truth of the cessation of suffering. Nirodha. The cessation of this suffering comes not from abandoning his career, but from letting go of the craving for external validation and the clinging to the belief that compromise is the only path to survival. It comes from embracing sila, ethical conduct, as a foundation for true well-being, and from cultivating upekkha, equanimity, a balanced mind that can navigate difficult situations without sacrificing core values. 4. The truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. Magga. This path is the Noble Eightfold Path, which guides us in cultivating wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline to live in alignment with our deepest values, even amidst external pressures, fostering inner peace and authentic success. The Noble Eightfold Path to reclaiming your values. Right view, Samadhi. This is the understanding that true well-being and lasting success are rooted in living in alignment with one's deepest values, and that compromising integrity ultimately leads to suffering. Right view helps Marcus see that external gains at the cost of internal peace are not true gains. It's the understanding of karma, that every action, even a small compromise, has consequences for his inner state. Right intention, Samma Sakappa, instead of intending solely for external outcomes, e.g., company stability, career advancement. The intention shifts to cultivating integrity, compassion, and wisdom in all actions. For Marcus, this means intending to act from a place of authenticity, even when it's difficult. Right speech, Samma Vaka, this involves speaking truthfully and constructively, even when it's uncomfortable, and avoiding speech that compromises one's values or misleads others. Marcus can practice speaking his truth with skill and compassion, finding ways to voice his concerns without causing undue harm. Right action, Samma Kamanta, this means engaging in actions that are ethical, harmless, and aligned with one's values. For Marcus, this might include setting clear boundaries on what he is willing to compromise, actively seeking out opportunities to champion ethical practices, finding creative solutions that uphold both business needs and ethical standards, being willing to accept the consequences of standing by his values. Right livelihood, Samma Ajiva, this involves reflecting on whether his current work environment and role truly support his values. If the systemic pressure for compromise is too great, right livelihood might prompt him to seek a different path or advocate for broader organizational change that aligns with ethical principles. Right effort, Samma Vyama, this is the effort to prevent unwholesome states like self-betrayal, cynicism, or fear from dominating him, and to cultivate wholesome states like courage, integrity, and inner peace. It's the effort to consistently bring awareness to his choices and gently guide his actions towards alignment with his values. Right mindfulness, Samma Sati, this is the practice of being fully present with his internal state, the subtle feelings of dissonance, unease, or hollowness that arise when he compromises his values. Marcus can observe these without judgment, allowing them to inform his decisions and guide him back to his authentic self. This practice also involves being mindful of the long-term consequences of small compromises. Right concentration, Samma Samadhi, through sustained mindfulness and right effort, Marcus can develop a deeper state of mental calm and focus. This allows him to gain clarity on his true priorities, to make decisions that are aligned with his core values, and to find inner peace that integrates his professional life with a profound sense of personal integrity. When you find yourself adrift, unsure of the values that once guided you, the path forward is not to despair, but to embark on a journey of rediscovery and reclamation. Here's how to navigate this profound realization. 1. Acknowledge the erosion. The first step is to honestly recognize that your values have been compromised, not to judge yourself, but to understand the process. Acknowledge the small compromises that have accumulated over time. This awareness is the beginning of healing. 2. Reconnect with your core values. Take time for introspection. What truly matters to you? What principles do you want to live by, regardless of external pressures? Write them down. These are your non-negotiables. 3. Identify the triggers and patterns. Observe the situations, people, or pressures that lead you to compromise your values. Understanding these triggers empowers you to develop strategies to navigate them more skillfully in the future. 4. Practice mindful decision-making. Before making a decision, especially one that feels uncomfortable, pause. Ask yourself, does this align with my core values? What are the long-term consequences of this choice, both externally and internally? 5. Set clear boundaries. Once you've reconnected with your values, establish clear boundaries for what you are and are not willing to compromise. Communicate these boundaries, even if subtly, in your professional and personal life. 6. Embrace small acts of integrity. You don't have to make a grand, dramatic stand. Start with small acts of integrity in your daily life. Speaking your truth kindly, refusing a minor unethical request, or simply aligning your words with your actions. Each small act reinforces your commitment to your values. 7. Seek support and mentorship. Connect with individuals who embody the values you admire. A trusted mentor or a supportive community can provide guidance, encouragement, and a safe space to discuss your struggles. 8. Practice self-compassion. The journey of reclaiming your values can be challenging. Be kind to yourself. Understand that past compromises were often made under pressure. Forgive yourself, learn from the experience, and commit to moving forward with renewed integrity. When the reflection in the mirror reveals a stranger, shaped by 1,000 tiny compromises, what is the true cost of the path you've walked? Is success measured only by external achievements, or by the unwavering integrity of the soul? What if the greatest victory isn't in conquering the corporate ladder, but in reclaiming the authentic self you thought was lost? The world often rewards conformity and pragmatism, but true peace lies in the courage to live by your own compass, even when the winds of compromise blow strong. If this message resonates with your own journey of navigating the complexities of modern life and the search for a deeper sense of purpose, share it with someone who might be silently grappling with the paradox of success and the profound need to live a life aligned with their truest values. Let's build a community where authenticity is celebrated and integrity is the ultimate measure of a life well lived. Namaste.